Ty, it ain't working out for me financially. I'm like, well, there's no money in easy. There's no money in easy.
안녕하세요. 멘탈 담금질입니다. 여러분, 어떻게 하면 쉽게 돈을 벌 수 있을까? 한 번쯤 생각해 보셨을 거라 생각합니다. 단군 일에 가장 돈을 벌기 쉬운 시대라고 합니다. 과연 그런지 미국의 백만장자 중 한 명인 타이 로페즈는 어떻게 말하는지 한번 들어봅시다.
You get paid in proportion to the difficulty of problems you solve. So, solve a simple problem, you're going to get a simple paycheck. Solve a hard enough problem, and the world will give you all our money. That's Elon Musk's quote, or so they say. And look at what he's doing. That's the game he's playing, solving the hardest problems in the world. Interstellar, travel, colonization, the issues with traffic, the issues with Wi-Fi. He's got Tesla that's, working on climate and transportation. And so at the end of the day, when I see people who say to me, Ty, it ain't working out for me financially, I'm like, well, there's no money in easy. There's no money in easy. But always the question is, what's the easiest way for me to get started? What's the 3 things? What's the 1 book I should read, Ty? I'm like, there's no money in easy. The money comes from the progression, your progression through the skill set. There's a great book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. Those people who are able to focus when the whole world has an attention span, they say now, that's shorter than the average goldfish. An average goldfish, scientists say, has a 6-second attention span. What do you think that is now in the social media world, where people can flip through and get a new hit of dopamine nonstop, day after day, moment after moment, right? That's the easy thing to do, be hypnotized by mass media. But to go your own path, this is difficult. It's like Aristotle said about anger. He said to be angry is easy, but to be angry at the right person at the right time for the right reason with the right intensity for the right duration, that's difficult. And, your question when it comes to making money should never be, what's the easy way to get started? Ask, what's the hard way to get started that not many people will do? If you talk to a Nobel Prize winner, they call this a barrier to entry. They call this a moat. They call this a sort of network effect that Silicon Valley esteems so highly, something that keeps most people out. What is money? Money is simple. I often ask people, I give talks, and I've asked this question. I once asked a professor whose specialty was in the definitions of money, and even he couldn't give me the right answer. I say, give me the definition of money in 3 words, all-encompassing and accurate. People kind of get it right, but scarce, in-demand resources. They have to be all 3. So if you know how to serve someone coffee, is that scarce? Do a lot of people have that skill? And this is no hate. I'm not looking down upon anybody's station in life. I milked cows by hand on a farm. I sheared sheep. I lived in a mobile home growing up. This is not a deprecation of anybody's life and where they find themselves now. But I will tell you the truth that not many people will tell you, that they wouldn't tell you in school, that they wouldn't tell you in college, that your mom and dad probably wouldn't tell you, which is there's no money in that easy thing. You get paid in proportion to the difficulty of problems you solve. If you know how to hand somebody a cup of coffee, is that a scarce, in-demand resource? Well, it's in demand, but it's not scarce. Therefore, it violates the universal laws of wealth. Or maybe not universal, but we could say planet Earth's modern capitalistic laws of wealth. And maybe you'll come up with a better system. I live in Sweden part-time. It's a little more socialist, but even there you find these rules applying. These go beyond. These are evolutionary biology at play in wealth. Karl Marx was a great thinker in a sense, but he got it wrong because he didn't understand that evolution and DNA trumps even the wisest, smartest person's attempt to unravel an economy. For the last 10,000 generations of Homo sapiens, your great-great-great-great-great-grandmother and grandfather have all been seeking scarce, in-demand resources, and the people who did survived, and you are the offspring of those people. They weren't just people who knew how to hand somebody a cup of coffee or do the lowest common denominator skill set. They were people who figured out the hard things. Your great-great-grandfather figured out how to, spear a mammoth elephant. And therefore they survived in that cold winter in one of the past ice ages when everybody else died because they had a scarce in-demand resource. Back then, it wasn't some fiat currency or some crypto digital currency. They had in their possession a skill set, hunting. And it was the great hunters and the great gatherers who have survived. And so when I'm talking about money, I'm not just talking about, okay, a Lambo and a cool house and a private jet. I'm talking about the very roots of what makes us survive, and that's resource acquisition. And so there's something called ESS, evolutionary stable strategies. So to the extent that other people become good at things, it no longer works. Right? That's why, for example, there's 1 to 5% of planet Earth is psychopaths. If there was too many psychopaths, game theory basically says the system falls apart. There's too many people trying to kill each other, screw each other over. If there's too few, modern game theory says then it will pay to be a little bit psychopathic. So there's an example on the psychometric social side where you see an ESS, an evolutionary stable strategy being formed. You see the same thing in making money. Right? If a whole bunch of people go to college and get a bachelor's degree in English, because in the 1960s, that was rare, that was scarce, and was an in-demand resource, a diploma, it worked. But as more and more people did that so that they could earn above average money, aka hunt and gather above average resources, that stopped working. It stopped working. And so now you find people going the opposite path. And now what's commonplace is for people to have a college degree. And now you see people who do the opposite. Peter Thiel paid a whole bunch of people under the age of 21 to not go to college and just to start to build something. That's where you see Vitalik Buterin built Ethereum and became, a billionaire under 25 years old or even younger. Because when everybody else was competing in the old ESS, evolutionary stable strategy, he broke out of it. And Peter Thiel encouraged people to break out of it. So you are constantly in a game. And you may not realize it. And nobody might want to admit this to you because most people are lost. But I am telling you how the game works. I own a large holding company. I buy things for a living. I buy things that broke. I bought Pier 1 Imports, big furniture home good brand in the United States, one of the biggest ever, 60-year-old brand, 1,200 stores, $1.7 billion in the year that I bought them. That's their revenue. I bought this, now I own it. Because they didn't evolve. And they were doing what was easy for them, which was to stay in the holding pattern of what used to work. But it didn't work anymore. And they didn't evolve. And that ESS set in and other competitors came in. You see this with clothing lines, and all of a sudden a young upstart like a Fashion Nova comes in and begins to innovate on top of the entrenched competition and do what is now rare and scarce and in demand, which is to be able to win at the game of e-com. My e-com brands did, the brand I just bought, bodybuilding.com, 9-figure e-commerce business. My different brands that I own did 160 million visits in the United States last year. These are 9-figure businesses, 100 million. I manage over 400 people I'm the CEO for. And I'm continuing to acquire and buy up because I understand the ESS. Not many people know how to do M&A, merger and acquisition transactions. I have mentors that taught me how to do them. Some of them billionaires, 363 sales, which is a form of bankruptcy liquidation that uses the court system in America. Not many entrepreneurs know it, therefore I want to do it. I go where the masses don't go. I was focused on being a social media influencer back in 2012, 2013 to about 2018 because nobody was doing it. Now that everybody does it, I've moved on to the next thing. Some people are like, oh, I don't see you on social media as much. Did you fall off? I'm like, no, I fell up. I didn't fall off. I fell up doing bigger and badder things than you can even fathom. But sometimes I'm making war in silence, you know. And then people see and get surprised. Now I own, 8 or 10 major brands, big brands. These are the smallest brands that I've been buying. Really, we're doing about 500 million in revenue. I've gone down and bought companies smaller that were doing 100 million in revenue, but I'm playing a game. That's my moat. That's my moat. While everybody competes in the dog-eat-dog world of who's going to get the most clicks, likes, follows on social media, I'm out here buying companies and building empires. And that's not because even per se I want to be the richest person in the world. I don't. I seek the good life. What's the good life? It's the balanced life. Balancing the 4 pillars: health, wealth, love, happiness. I break the 4 pillars into 3 subsets called the 12 foundations. I break those 12 subsets into 3 further subsets. Those are the 36 principles that I live my life, and there are only 9 of them are related to making money. But that is an important part. And it is part of you learning a game that's important. Everybody will play it at different levels. Some people will pay it at the very highest level. That's their evolutionary stable strategy, is to be one of the big whales. And other people will do it just to have enough to be financially independent, to be able to have that 4 pillar of the good life. So I hope you figure it out, but I hope you always remember, you will not break this immutable law of wealth or financial independence. You must seek out to do what's hard. It doesn't have to be the hardest thing, but don't seek what's easy, because what's easy always stops working. And you saw this throughout time. If you read financial history, 1800s in the United States, what happened? Things began to automate. Industrial Revolution, 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s. You see the steel, the steam engine, the rise of automation, Henry Ford. And what happened, sadly, and this happened to my family, I grew up with a single mom. My dad was from Harlem, basically a street kid, ended up in prison, Long Beach, California, when I was born. And what somebody never told my dad was, my dad sold cocaine and sold it to an FBI undercover agent. That's how he got put in Terminal Island off Long Beach. And he didn't understand that you can't make money in that street game of drugs, because scarce, in-demand resources, cocaine's an in-demand resource, but the ability to sell it's not scarce. Everybody's going to be your competitor. There is no moat. Even Pablo Escobar eventually lost because new blood came in. And so you want to play a game that not only you're impervious to the new blood, but the new blood's afraid to go where you're going. And that's all if you want to make a lot of money. But this also applies to other areas, whether you're in science, whether you're in agriculture, whether you're an intellectual, whether you're an artist, a musician, a dancer, whatever it is that you're doing, this is the game. And, I like that quote. I don't know who said it. Don't pray for it to be easy or something like that. It's okay to have a challenge. Your greatest memories and the happiness that you find therein will have come from the struggle. Hopefully the struggle is not too hard. You don't want to push yourself to the extreme forever, or that stress level will also destroy you. You want to find that nice balance where you're challenged and where you're challenging yourself more than the masses. So good luck out there.
테이 로페즈는 어려운 문제를 해결하는 데 비례해서 돈을 받게 됩니다. 따라서 간단한 문제를 해결하면 간단한 급여를 받게 됩니다. 하지만 충분히 어려운 문제를 해결하면 세상이 모든 돈을 줄 것입니다. 라는 일론 머스크의 말과 그의 테슬라가 시도하는 다양한 프로젝트를 예시로 들며 세상에서 가장 어려운 문제를 해결하는 게임을 해야 한다고 얘기합니다. 그는 쉬운 것에서는 돈이 없다는 것을 명심해야 하는 점을 강조하며 돈은 기술 역량을 통한 진행으로부터 온다고 말합니다. 그리고 모든 사람이 관심을 가지고 있는 것보다도 더 많은 집중력을 가지고 있는 사람들이 성공하는 비결에 대해 말합니다. 돈은 사람들이 필요로 하는 희소한 자원과 수요와 관련이 있습니다. 돈을 버는 방법은 어려운 일을 찾는 것입니다. 경쟁에서 떠나 새로운 영역을 찾아야 합니다. 라고 말이죠. 쉽게 말하면 돈을 많이 벌고 싶다면 간단한 일보다는 어려운 일에 도전해야 합니다. 일론 머스크처럼 세상에서 가장 어려운 문제를 해결하고 돈은 희소한 자원과 수요와 관련이 있으며 어려운 일을 해결할 수 있는 기술과 능력이 중요합니다. 간단한 일에서는 많은 돈을 벌 수 없습니다. 대신 어려운 일에 도전해 보세요. 시청해 주셔서 감사합니다.